We got breaking news out of college football where Jim Harbaugh has agreed to serve his 3-game suspension from the Big Ten as part of the Michigan sign stealing scandal. The Big Ten investigation's now closed, but the NCAA remains ongoing. In a statement, Harbaugh said he decided to accept the sanction to return the focus to the Wolverines' on-field product. He'll be eligible to return to the sidelines for the Big Ten title game and college football playoff should Michigan be selected. Here's a statement that is making the rounds on social media from the University of Michigan. And it says, in part, the conference has confirmed that it is not aware of any information suggesting Coach Harbaugh's involvement in the allegations as the university continues to cooperate fully with the NCAA's investigation. All right, let's welcome in our Dennis Dodd here. So, Dennis, what's the significance of today's news?
Well, first of all, everybody got what they wanted. No litigation. The Big Ten doesn't have this embarrassing, thing go on with the preliminary injunction tomorrow in Washtenaw County Court. Should mention Michigan blinked on this. Somebody got to Harbaugh, or at least the administration, and said, look, this is no good anymore. Let's just take 3 games and move on. We're a very good team without Jim Harbaugh. They've won 40% of their games this year without him, 4 of them. So I think everybody goes out, not with their head held high. There's still a lot of Michigan versus everybody sweatshirts out there that need to be sold that are suddenly no good. But no, I think this was the just and right thing to conclude this mess. It had overshadowed what Michigan was trying to do. It overshadowing some really good stories out of the Big Ten and college football this year.
Part of the significance of this story is what Michigan has at stake, which is a potential date in the Big Ten championship, as well as a potential college football playoff run, which would be 3 straight in a row for this university. Dennis, but there's just going to be 2 3-game suspensions now for Jim Harbaugh. 3 in the beginning of the season and now 3 to end the regular season, albeit, again, things that are supposed to be different here. But is there a common link, or at least how we should view Michigan and Jim Harbaugh in all of this?
Yeah, did you notice that, Tommy? 3 at the beginning, 3 at the end? You didn't miss that, did you?
No.
One self-imposed, one imposed by the league. Yeah, look, I think Jim Harbaugh is a guy that in general toes the line, whether intentional or not, goes right up into that gray area, right up to that line to gain an advantage. Look, taking his team to Europe during spring break is not an NCAA violation, but coaches were furious at that. Like, Michigan did it because they can afford it. Sleeping over at a recruit's house, climbing a tree, holding those camps when he started 9 years ago to gain an advantage in the South, that upset coaches. And that's Jim Harbaugh. Frankly, I'm surprised, because he was so stubborn on this and stubborn in other areas, that this thing went down like this. Key point, and I forgot to mention this, Tommy, the Big Ten dropped its investigation. So this is, as you mentioned, totally now an NCAA thing. I would expect this not to be, I don't know if the word is resolved, but the case would be finished maybe mid-year next year. Will Jim Harbaugh still be at Michigan? And if he is, will he be suspended again?
Speaking of the Big Ten, we do have a statement from the conference, again, with this whole Jim Harbaugh and Michigan type thing. Obviously, we saw from the university there, Big Ten conference statement, which says Big Ten conference commitment to student athletes, sportsmanship, and the commissioner's duty to protect the integrity of competition will never waver. Again, it also ends with the conference will continue to work cooperatively with the university and the NCAA during this process. Dennis, I'll let you go with this here, which is, something I had with our colleague Tom Fornelli, and Tom talking about how in college football, this is campaign season where every team in every conference is trying to fight for one of its own. If Michigan loses at Maryland, that's one thing, but if they lose in a close game to rival Ohio State, there will be some that say, well, Jim Harbaugh wasn't there, so therefore they should get some type of break. What say you when it comes to that, if in fact we get to that point?
Yeah, I think we're way past that. I wrote something like that last week, in that all of this was distracting from what the players had accomplished. Whether they knew or not, look, they obviously profited from the information, but I think they're mostly innocents in this situation. And even if the plays are coming, you still got to tackle. I think Deion Sanders said that the first week this broke. Michigan's defense is the #1 defense in the country. Tommy, since 2011 was the last year any team held anyone to less than 10 points per game. That was Alabama in their national championship year. This year, there are 2. And how prophetic. Number 1 is Michigan. Number 2 is Ohio State. They're meeting next week.
Dennis, certainly appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on with the breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Again, Michigan, last time I checked, will be roughly 19-point favorites on the road against Maryland, but all eyes will be on that big game with Ohio State down the road. Appreciate you, Dennis.
You bet.
So Jim Harbaugh over serving that 1-game suspension. The Wolverines were able to win at Happy Valley and Penn State and cover the number, but Maryland is up this weekend, and then Ohio State in 2 games time.